Hey, how's it going? Welcome back to the channel. Today we have an interesting looking puzzle here. It supposedly has has a debut for a new puzzle rule set here, which is called Skyscraper Thermos. I'm going to have to assume that it's a combination of skyscrapers and thermos, but we'll find out when we get into the rules here. Also, there's some interesting things going on here, so it seemed like a nice one to take a look at. So, what is it? Well, it's called Flight Delays by Pixel Strength. I don't think I've ever done a puzzle by Pixel Strength. That's another bonus. So let's just jump into our rules and see what we got going on. So we've got standard Sudoku rules. So every row, column, and 3x3 box will contain the digits 1 through 9 once each. Then we've got killer cages. So digits in black cages. You'll know that we have different colored cages. Let's just point them out for anyone who might have difficulty seeing. These are all the black cages. And then these are all red cages. So digits in black cages must sum to the number in the top left corner of the cage. Digits may not repeat. So normal killer cage rules. So these two add up to 13, these to 12, these 3 to 8, etc., etc. Then we have Skyscraper Thermos, which is each cell is the height of a building. That's normal. The cell in a circle looks along the line and counts how many buildings it can see. Tall buildings hide smaller ones behind them. Each line works independently from others when counting to a circle's sum, e.g. row 3, column 9, which is this one, has a max value of 2, not 4. And the reason would be is because this circle is looking along these gray lines. So it has 2 different gray lines. So I guess it'll have to satisfy both of them. I guess we'll have to get to that, I guess, once we get into the actual solve. But it's stating that it can only possibly see 2 spaces along its lines. So like this guy here could be 1, 2, 3, 4 possible. And the same for all these other gray lines, which are coming out of circles. And then all the other lines are going to be, I think, German whispers because they are green, but we'll find that out as well. So let's finalize our skyscraper thermo here. Digits may repeat along a line if allowed by other rules. Okay, so there's no negative constraint there. So this digit and this digit could be the same digit technically. Okay, so that's interesting. Now we also have look and say cages, which we have not done in quite a long time. So these are fun rule sets. For red, okay, so the red cages are the look and say cages. For red cages, read the clue out loud. Doing this describes the nature of the cage. E.g., 1522 says there is 1, 5, and 2 2s. So 1, 5, 2 2s in that cage. So let's just continue thinking, well, this is a 1, 2, 1, 3. It means there's 1, 2, and 1, 3 in this cage. This says there's 1, 9 in this cage. This one is 1, 8 in this cage, etc. And then finally, our last rule set is actually German whispers. So I was correct. It did use the normal coloring system here. So adjacent digits on a green line must have a difference of at least 5. So typical German whispers. Whatever this digit is, this one has to be 5 away from it, and this one has to be 5 away from that, and so on in these lines. I will note them here so you can see what they are. And those are the rules. So let's put our rule set here on our skyscraper thermo so that it's prevalent, because the other ones, I think we know what they are. They're kind of typical. But the skyscraper thermos are apparently a new rules type, and look and say cages are not new, but we don't use them very often, so that's a nice one. So anyhow, that is the description of what's going on for this puzzle. The link will be in the description below. Let's get started on this thing, see if we can get things figured out. So now I'm going to read the skyscraper thermo one to myself really quickly, just make sure I'm I got it completely correct. So yeah, so the circle tells you how many skyscrapers can be seen along their lines. Okay, just want to make sure I had that right. So as stated in the example, this guy can only be 1 or 2 because it can only see either 1 or 2. And I guess we can kind of lay those out. This could be 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's kind of go through these. 1, 2, 3, 4. I know this is not really necessary to do this like this. 2, 3, but we'll just put them in there for now. I'll leave this one alone for a second because it's going to be a large number there that it could get up to. Okay, so let's think about how we can use some of this information. Or we can also start looking at our looking say cages as well to try to get some base information down. We know one of these is a 9. We know one of these is 8. We know one of these is a 9. And I'm going to sneeze in a second here. Maybe, if I can hold it in. I think I did. This 8 clue must have a 1 in it because it's 3 cell. That kind of reduces this 10 clue if you think about it. Because we know it can't have an 8 in it and it can't have a 1 in it, so it can't be 8-2 or 9-1. But we're at 3-7 or 6-4 as still possibilities, so don't know that I necessarily want to put those in yet. So these 12, okay, well, these guys that are in normal killer cages, but they also have a German whisper in them, are going to be interesting because we can make some determinations from them. Okay, that's probably where we want to start. So these 13 cages. Now, normally you can make 13 in a bunch of different ways. Well, not a bunch of different ways, but a couple of different ways. But because they have to abide by a German whisper, so i.e. one of them is 5 larger or smaller than the other one, the only actual way to make this 13 cage work is a 4-9. Same here. And that actually does come into play here because we're going to force now this 10 cage to be a 3-7 because we just said it can't be 1-9, it can't be 2-8, and now it also can't be 4-6, so it is 3-7. Okay. This 12 cage, it must be a 9-3. That's the only thing that can work. The only other way you can think about it is if it was a 9-3 and 8-4, but once you get down to an 8-4, you're only 4 apart from each other. So this is a 9-3, and we know one of these is a 9, so that forces this to be 3 and 9. And that forces this then to be 4 and 9. Good. Get a little bit of information going. Now we know this can't be 3 or 4 by Sudoku. So this guy is only seeing either 1 or 2 skyscrapers along its line. In fact, we get a 1-2 pair going. So I think the skyscrapers are going to come into play maybe in a little bit here. But not necessarily right out of the gate. Let's think about this 8 cage a little bit further. We know there's always 2 ways to make an 8 cage. It's either 1-2-5 or 1-3-4. Well, it can't be 1-3-4, so it is 1-2-5. Let's put those in. Now we pretty much know what all of this row is, so we can put these 2 in as just placeholders essentially for the moment. They have to be from 6 and 8. Now, do we start thinking about some of these? Because what we can look at is say we have 2 8, so one of these is 8. Now the 1-2 clue, I don't think it's quite enough to get us where we need to go, but we start to see the influence that these are going to start making. Like I said, I don't know that we've definitely have enough at the moment, but we can definitely stop saying definitely. We can certainly, let's use a different word, see how these things could start working their way back to our skyscrapers. But let's continue the process here for a second to try to find some more digits to work with and see how that may or may not help us out. So, what about this 13? 13 cage, because we can think about that similarly with the German whisper inside of it. Now we know this can't be, well, let's start basic. It either has 2 highs and 1 low, or 2 lows and 1 high. Obviously, it can't have a 5 on it because it's the German whisper. Well, we can say right off the bat, it can't be 2 highs and 1 low, because the bare minimum of 2 highs is a 6 and 7, which is 13. So these are low. So from 1, 2, or 3. This is therefore a high. We know it can't be a 4 on there. So this has to be a high digit. The maximum these can ever be is 5, which means the minimum that this is would be 8. Well, we know that it's going to have to be 8 if the bare minimum or the maximum these can be is 5 and the minimum this can be is 8, because we can't use a 9. So this just is 8. And this has to get up to 13, so it has to use that 2, 3. Therefore, we know this is 1. This is not 1. These are not 2 or 3. And what more can we say? Now, again, we are starting to get some information about what this can be. It's either 1, which it can't be, because we can't put a 9 here. So the only way this could be a 1 is if this was a 9. It can't be a 9. So therefore, this is going to have to be 4. Because no matter what we would have put here, it's going to be lower than 8. So we're always going to see that one, and we're always going to see this one. So that's at least 2. That's a 4. Therefore, this is 9 and 4. Now, if we know this is 4, all of these have to be seen. So therefore, this has to be a 9. Because we have to see whatever's beyond the 8. The only thing we could see is possibly would be the 9. Okay. Now, these two guys here can't necessarily go too in depth. Now, did it say that the starting point makes any difference? Let's look at that. So along the line, counts how many buildings it can see. It does not. Okay. I wasn't quite sure if we're thinking about this being a 4, if that is the starting point of what it could see, or if it just blatantly tells you how many can be seen from this position. And it just appears to be that how many can be seen from that position along the line. Okay. So these could be any combination, but they work like a thermo, essentially. So if this is 6, 7, or something along those lines. Okay. With all of that said, where are we looking next? This 5 clue we can use, because we know a 5 can only be made 1, 4, or 2, 3. Well, it can't have a 1 on it anymore. So this is a 2, 3, and we have a 3. So 2 and 3. This is not 2 anymore. Now, we can look at this look and say cage and start to think. Because we know we have to have 1, 2, and we have to have 1, 3. We cannot have a 2 or a 3 in here anymore because of this 5. So the 2 and the 3 must be in these 3 cells, but they can't be here. So this is just a 2, 3 pair. Okay. Now with the look and say cages, these can be anything else. All we know is that there is 1, 2, and 1, 3, and we know that they're in these 2. Okay. Let's dig deeper, if we can. We know that this is a 1, and we can't use a 9 or an 8. That immediately tells me that this digit here must be a 7, because it has to block everything behind it. So if we were to ever, well, no, it's only on the line. Sorry, it's only on the line. I was starting to get confused again about the extents of the skyscrapers because we haven't used them yet. But no, that's not the case, actually. This could very well be a 5 with a 4 behind it. Okay. All right. We're learning here. We're figuring things out. What about the 3s, though? None of these can be 3. This is a 3. And we get a doot. Now, do we have more we can do with this 1, 2? Because we've got some information here now. Not necessarily. If we figure out where the 8 is, that will determine if this is a 1 or a 2. Because if this is the 8, this has to be 1, because it won't ever be able to see what's behind it. If this is an 8, this will be a 2, because it will always be able to see what's in front of it. So, but we're not there yet. So 2s and 3s, if we just look at Sudoku, need to go up in here, and this one can't be a 3. Now this guy will start getting reduced as more information gets put in here, but it's not quite there yet, I don't believe. Because it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Technically, this goes all the way up to 6. It can't be 1, 2, or 3. I guess we can put 4, 5, and 6 in there for now. We have the information. Let's just do it so it's there. But what else does that actually tell us? Let's think about this column further and what may occur here. So what do we have left over? 5, 6, and 7. This is either 5 or 6 because it can't have a 7 on it. So there is a 7 on here. And if these are from 5, 6, 7, this actually does turn out to be a 7. I misspoke earlier, but the actual value miraculously is ending up to be that. Because no matter what we put here, if it isn't a 7, we would be seeing 2 of them. So this is 7. Okay, now we got that. What else? Let's see. I don't think we can do too much with this 2, 3 yet. We're gonna know, again, I think we need a little bit more information, but we're gonna know this is gonna be a semi-low value, because it's gonna have to allow, well, no, it could be, yeah, it's gotta be sort of low in the general sense, because we're gonna have to be able to see past it a little bit. Okay, let's think elsewhere then. What do we have in this row that might affect this German whisper? Because we know we have 1 high, 1 low on a German whisper. Well, the low is either going to be 1 or 4. The problem is the high can be almost anything, 6, 8, or 9, without this being a 9. So that's kind of worthless. So let's not even put that in there. And let's see if there's something else that's more obvious. Start thinking about this guy a little bit. And how are we going to go about that? Because we know we only have 1 or 2 skyscrapers on this thermo, as you will. So there has to be a grouping of values that can be determined that way. And that's just me talking without making any sense as I try to think about what I'm really doing here. Okay, where's the next little bit we can look at then? 1, 2, 5. Scanning about here, see if there's anything really. The 9 is, it's getting close in this region. We know this can't be a 9 because then this would have to be a 1 and it can't be. But that just still leaves 9s in 3 locations, so we can't really go anywhere from there. What else we got? No, one of those is a 2 already, and a 1 and a 5. We got the 3. 8s and the 9s are all kind of worked. Okay. Not seeing anything across those lines. What about 7? Because we can rule out 7. Well, actually, we can't. I thought we might be able to. We can rule out 7 from here. But we cannot rule it out from here. Because this could be 6, 7, and 8 in any one of these places, and then a 9 here, let's say. That is all possible. The 9, on the other hand, we can say is just one of these 2. Because obviously, it's ruled out from all of these. And the same concept of the 7, this can't be a 9 because this would have to be a 1. Now, can we think about that in reverse? Because we have to be able to see at least 4 of them. Now, I guess if we knew the 9 was here, that would be more stringent. Because it would force these 3 to be in a grouping that we could see all of them. So that's something to aspire to figure out. Okay, the 9 is actually simpler in this row. It has to go here. Because we can, same concept, none of these can be 9s, this can't be the 9, and none of these can be 9s, so this is. So that gives us this 9 up here. Again, it's not really jaw-dropping stuff, but it's a digit. Okay, so again, we have to go back to the drawing. Surprisingly, we haven't done anything here. I'm wondering if there was some logic we could put into these to figure this out. I haven't thought about it one bit, to be honest with you. Because it doesn't seem like there is, does it? Because this could very well be a 1. And if this was a 3, this could be a 2. And that would work perfectly fine, and these could just be any grouping where we'd only see one of them. Now, on the other hand, if this was a 2, this just has to be something higher than a 3, and then these have to be something where we can see both of them. So I guess there maybe isn't anything here. Let's think about this column in total, and maybe something with it will work out for this grouping here for the Skyscraper Thermo. 5, 6, 7, and 8. This can't be 8 or 5. Not quite there. Because we know we got a fairly high digit here. But this could easily be the 7, and these be 6s and 5s, and some other low digit where this is only going to be a 1. But it could also be a 7, or it could be a 6, I should say, and one of these 2 is visible. Okay. I think if there's anything here as well we could start thinking about, but again, I don't quite think there is. So there's something obvious I might be not seeing. whether it be this German Whisper, because again, I haven't even looked at this German Whisper necessarily. But offhand, I don't really see what we could do on this guy at the moment, because we don't have the restrictions that the cage gave us, where we could think about 2 highs and 1 low, or 1 high and 2 lows. Was there anything maybe in the... No, I don't see anything for 5s that we could kind of do some ruling out with. Yeah, I can't... I mean, we could do a little thermo session here, but I don't know if it's really going to give us any great options. Because if we think about what can go on these 2 cells, it's 1, 5, 6, and 7. So this one can't be 7 because it would block all this, the rest of this, and this one can't be a 1 because it would be hidden behind. But even that little grouping like that doesn't do a whole lot for us. So maybe there's something in a column and a row that's going to give us a little bit more information we can work with. Like the 4s, but not quite. One of those is a 4. None of these can be 4s, and that can't be a 4, actually. So one of these is. We don't have enough 4s elsewhere to really look about. Okay. What is the obvious thing? Is there an obvious thing? I'm sure there is. The highs and lows on this thing again. Wasn't quite enough to work with. Maybe it's just this row and thinking about all of this. Because 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. I know this looks like a mess of information, but we can reduce some of these digits down. Like this can't be 8 or 7. This can't be 8. We said this could be 7 because it could be 6, 7, 8, excuse me, 8 and 9. Don't have a glass of water up here. It's a shame. What about you? Because I think we probably will be able to push things. Yeah, I think this is all it was. If we just put all this in, it's going to come back and tell us something. Because again, this can't be an 8. If it is, this would have to be a 1. So where's our 8 going? It has to go here. Now we can correlate that back. We know whatever this is, this will be seen, so this is a 2. That forces the 1, 5 pair, and it forces this to be a 1. So therefore, like we had sort of said in an example, this has to be lower than the 3, so that it can't be seen now. So this is 2. And then this grouping here, this has to be the high digit. So what do we have left over before we come back and start looking over here again? So we have 5, 6, 7, and 8. Yeah, we're not going to get much out of this. Because essentially this is the same thing, but this can't be the 8. this can't be a 5. But we can make any of these other groupings work. Okay. Now let's go back here and see if there's anything. Because I think we're pretty far along here, because this is just going to be something below 8. So there's going to be a few options there, right? I guess we can mark that there must be a 5 in here. And we're going to start saying this is from 1, 4, or 6. Like I said, not a lot comes out of that, but let's look here. Is there any way? Yeah, we can probably break this down now. There's probably no way this can ever be a 6. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 would be the only way that would work. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that just doesn't work, obviously. So this is not 6. Can't necessarily rule this out as being anything. It can't be a 7. We can do that, sorry. So this is 7. Now, we just said the maximum that we could ever make with this being a 7 is 4, because this will have to be some variant of 5 or 6, then the 7, then an 8, and then a 9. Or, no, not necessarily a 9, but then these would all be lower than that 8. So this is 4, which means this is 4. Let's get rid of all that. So again, we know this is 4, so this has to be a digit we can see, plus a 7, plus... Oh no, it does have to be 7, 8, 9, because we're already at the 7. So this is 9, which means that's 3 and 2. And now this does have to be an 8, because we have to see past it, past the 7, that is, to the 8 and the 9. Okay, and with all that said, and this being a German whisper, this is 5. And therefore, this is a 1-6 pair. And that is going to continue to break things up. Good. So this is 4. This is not 5. Good. This is going to be a given now of something. Looks like it's a 9. We're just going to make the 9 work. That should be all of our 9s, and it is. Okay. The 8 has to go here. We're probably into mostly Sudoku at this point. Let's just put these in. We need a 1, a 6, and a 7. So this is 1, 6, 7, which means this is 5. This is 6. And there were other things that would have said that as well, but these are not 6s. So it could be 1 with 5 or 7, or 5 with a 7. Those are possibilities. Okay, we hadn't got into this yet. Let's think about what these two can be. There has to be a 6 in it. We can put that in. I'm not going to necessarily go all the way in on the 1, 5, 7s. And what else? Just making sure we've got everything here. Let's do a quick look on Sudoku. See if we can get any givens in here. Because there may very well be something. One of these is a 3. And we know this can't be a 3. Okay, that is helpful. So those 3s did some work. Should have kind of kept an eye on 3s as well, because we had a given 3, but you never quite know what's going to happen once you use that initial digit, if it's going to come back or help or not. But anyway, this can't be a 3 because it forces us to be an 8 or a 9, and it can't be. So this is 3 and 4. So we get rid of all that. that 3 breaks the 2 and the 3. Finally. And now what? Let's look across here, I guess. We got 5, 6, 7, and 8. That's not 8. That's really not useful. Because there's nothing else I can see that cuts up there, but... Okay, let's continue down the line. We've got an X-wing on 3s that's left. These 4s, are they not sorted in any way? They aren't really, but maybe we can get something on this line. We continue to look, oh, that 5, there we go, is 6 and 7. Which forces 6. So that's good. Let's continue the process. Okay, so this is a 6-8 pair, which can force a, because of 6s can't be in there, we already had that. So this is a 6-8 pair, which forces this to be a 4. Get rid of these, if I could see in the dark here. And that, again, doesn't quite see up just yet. But we can probably take this further. One of these is a 7. Eight, not necessarily. No, the 8 here, we get something. Let's get rid of those. Okay, maybe this now, yeah, because this 8 is the end of this. We can't see the 3 or the 7, so we see 2. So there's 2 and 3, and 7 and 3. And this should be pared down a bit more. Now, what are these 3 digits? We need 1, 2, and 5. Not helpful. This can't be 2. So, okay, we do get a 1 to 5 pair. So this is 7. That 7 doesn't help us because this, the 1 and the 5, either one still is doable. This is 1, 5, or 6. Okay. Let's continue with our Sudoku, because I think it is helping. We just have to get through it. The 9s were done. Okay, so now we're going to have to go here. Let's get rid of this 5. We know this is a high digit, so this has to be low. What can it be? It cannot be 2, 3, or 4. It is 1. Good. 6 and 1. That 6 gives us the 8 and the 6. This is not a 6. This has to be high, and it can't be 6, 8, or 9. So it is 7, and that puts the 8 here. This is not 8. Good. We've got these 3 digits. We need to put a 2 in it somewhere, so this is the 2. And then these have to be 5 and 6. Those aren't quite sorted, but we can tell what this is. It's a 1, which then gives us this 2. That's good. And this actually is just a 5 and the 1. Now, if we know this is a 2, this has to be 6 and 8 to satisfy our Skyscraper Thermo. This can't be 6 anymore. Let's look back here, see if we can finish this area off. We need 4 and 7. We got 4s and 7s looking at it. So this is 4, this is 7. We need 2s, so 2 and 5. And this can... Okay, this can only see 1, so we can resolve this now that we've gotten these things down. This can never be a 7. Oh no, sorry. This can never be the 7 because it would force us to be a 6. So this is 5, 6, 7, and that's going to break everything else up, I believe. Not 6. Okay. we should just have these two to finish, and that should take care of the rest of this. So what do we need? We need a 6 and an 8. So let's put those in, and that is going to come over here and get these done, and we get a 1 and a 5. And I think that's all the digits. We just need to hit the check button. And there's a typo. Sugar. It's probably another one of those things where I accidentally had this thing. That's a 5. That's what all it was. Again, my mouse sometimes will click on things. I don't know how long that's been there. Probably been a little while, but it clearly was not going to be a 6 there, with both these being a 6s looking at it. So anyway, that took a little while. I guess took a second to kind of get into the concept of these Skyscraper Thermos. I do enjoy the concept of it. Hopefully we'll see some more puzzles with this and kind of see how it's going to play out and how it works with more puzzles. But I think this was a really good puzzle. I really enjoy, obviously, having new rule sets and those sorts of things to try to work through and figure out. So Pixel Strength, thank you, I guess, for creating this rule set. And I hope you all enjoyed this one. I certainly did. And we'll see you in the next one. Thanks a lot.